Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Now, it's not just the EU that is facing its challenges at the moment, so is NATO. A wave of anti-establishment politicians have been questioning some of the basic precepts of the organisation. Donald Trump is fairly blasé about NATO and has suggested it'd only help members who pay their fair share towards defence. And then here, of course, there's Jeremy Corbyn, no NATO fan. He's called it an engine for the delivery of oil to the oil companies. And then last week, he said this.
But would you get involved militarily if I would want to avoid us getting involved militarily by building up the diplomatic relationships and also trying to not isolate any country in Europe to bring them up.
Everyone would want to avoid it, but would you get involved if you had to?
I don't wish to go to war. What I want to do is achieve a world where we don't need to go to war, where there is no need for it. That can be done.
Well, I spoke to Anders Fogh Rasmussen. He was once the Prime Minister of Denmark and then became Secretary General of NATO until 2014. What does he make of Jeremy Corbyn?
Well, I think his refusal to clearly state that as a Prime Minister or possible Prime Minister of the UK, he would not be sure that he would defend NATO allies has really undermined the credibility of NATO. And if he were to carry out what he has said, it would tempt Mr. Putin to aggression to test the resolve of NATO.
You really believe that? That the word of a British Prime Minister, assuming he was elected, would tempt President Putin to do what? To invade Poland? Or what are you thinking?
I don't think that Mr. Putin would conduct an open attack on a NATO ally, but what we might see is what we call hybrid warfare, this mix of small green men and sophisticated disinformation, as we saw when he illegally annexed Crimea into the Russian Federation.
I mean, one of the things Mr. Corbyn has said, not on the occasion that we've been talking about, but on other occasions, he has said that NATO should have basically abolished itself in 1990. The Cold War was over. But instead of doing that, it expanded. It expanded both to the east and central of Europe, which obviously Russia thought was perhaps something of a threat. And then it went global. It went to, I mean, he used this phrase, Afghanistan is not part of the North Atlantic. So what is NATO going in and working in Afghanistan for? That it's overreached itself massively from its Cold War days to the era we're now living in.
Yeah, it's interesting. As far as I know, Mr. Corbyn said that NATO should give up, go home, go away, and almost word by word, that's the message I received from President Putin, who was then a Prime Minister 7 years ago. So there's no doubt that if Mr. Corbyn were to be elected Prime Minister of the UK, there will be a big celebration in the Kremlin. It will really play into the hands of Mr. Putin.
Right. Well, Corbyn would play into the hands of Putin. Let's talk about the other character, elected, potentially electable politician, President Donald Trump. What do those words, President Donald Trump, do to you? Do they make you very scared?
Yeah, that's exactly the same. Donald Trump has also raised doubt about the credibility of NATO. He has said that the American commitment to defending a NATO ally would be very much dependent on these allies' financial contributions to NATO. And of course, this also plays into the hands of Mr. Putin. So if in a hypothetical situation you would have a President Trump and a Prime Minister Corbyn of the UK, it would significantly weaken NATO. I would say it would weaken the whole Western civilization.
I just wonder whether this new politics is terrifying you because it is a threat to the established order that you have enjoyed and you like, but whether maybe the public are just fed up with what was going on before.
There is no doubt that this is an anti-establishment policy. But returning to Mr. Corbyn, I know that the Labour Party fancies the basic principles like solidarity, collectivity, internationalism. None of these principles are fulfilled by Mr. Corbyn in his statement. So actually I think he has betrayed the fundamental principles upon which the Labour Party usually worked in the past.
Anders Fogh Rasmussen, thanks very much. Thanks for talking to us.
You're welcome.
I should say a spokesperson for Jeremy Corbyn told us this evening Britain's membership of NATO is not in dispute. The aim of both Britain and NATO should be to prevent conflict, and Parliament must have the final say on any military action. Those were the points Jeremy was emphasising in the Birmingham hustings.
I've been getting